Simply Media. We're here today to talk about China and a result that was inevitable. Everybody's been worried in the left press about China and what it's going to do to the market and various other things because Trump has put them on the $400 billion advantage they have in trade. Well, the United States is the customer. Now, whether you agree with using customer leverage or not, that is the truth. And when you lose a customer or it declines in business, it's a huge event. When you lose a supplier, it's a relatively small thing. So, what's happened is China offended the United States by going too far. I call it pulling on the rubber band too much, and it snapped. So, Trump took the point of view that it's got to have some balance, and he started what he did. China took the point of view that, well, the customer really needs us. The customer rarely needs anybody, and that's my experience in business for 50 years. I mean, customers can get along without you most of the time. So, if it's not most of the time, in my experience, it's all of the time. So China took the point of view, but forgot the history. And this is the history. Now, you can think this is good, or you can think this is bad, but at least you ought to know the facts. The China deal started with Kissinger deciding to open up China to put pressure on Russia. It worked. Only 16 years later, in 1989, the Soviets crumbled. And now what's going on is after Kissinger opened up China in 1973, the Taiwanese, who were longtime producers for the United States, didn't have enough people because their success was so great, the wages went up, so they sought other places to go. China was one they thought of. So the Taiwanese went to China to save money. Pretty straightforward. Foxconn is a company you may know. It's one of many that did this. So in any event, they did it, but the point is they went on price. So if anybody else met the price, it would be to their advantage to move. And many of them moved to Southeast Asia. But remember, it was the Taiwanese Chinese that did this, and the Hong Kong Chinese that did this, not the Chinese. Now, that's not to underestimate China, but it is to say that the Chinese in Taiwan and Hong Kong were the innovators in all of this sourcing. And these people were the ones that sourced for many companies I know, a little bit for us, for Walmart, and for others. In any event, when this was going on, the Chinese started to misread the tea leaves and think it was a matter of their uniqueness or something else, where in fact it was their low price. When they pushed hard enough, Walmart, the largest customer in the world, not speaking of the aggregate of the United States, on August 7th, 2018 said to suppliers such as us, large and small like us, you ought to get a backup. Well, when they speak, the lion roars, and many of us who could got out of China, which we did, and we went to India. We had business in India, but we just moved everything out of China. So that started to happen, and Foxconn did that, and other Taiwanese companies did it because they didn't want to be part of the punishment, for better or worse. They were, as one might say, agnostic. They just wanted to make good stuff cheap because their customers wanted it from Walmart on down. So, that's what happened. And the left press and Wall Street didn't quite understand. They're not Main Street people. We were buying from China because of price. $400 billion advantage to them. Now, we were selling things there for China like Apple and others, but it was small potatoes compared to what Americans were buying from them. So it should be no surprise that China just reported that orders are down, sales are down. Well, of course they're down. Once they took this point of view, then people moved out. It was simple. They just went to other places to get lower cost goods.